zoom in on this at all?
I think you can.
Just like pinch it? That good?
Great.
I just feel weird zooming in on people while they're eating. Hi. Yeah. It's gonna have all of it.
Will be later.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning. Almost noon, but still morning. I'm Tim Severin. I'm our Jesuit Parish Families Director of Sustainability and Social Mission. This is the fourth and final installment in our 2024 Sunday Speaker Series on the Jesuit Universal Apostolic Preferences for UAP. Today we're focused on UAP 4, which is caring for our common home. As has been a sort of theme going through this whole series, the four principles are really woven together. So you'll find all four of them in what is shared today. But our focus today is caring for our common home. So before I introduce our speakers, though, we're going to begin with a prayer. This is a prayer that Pope Francis wrote at the end of Laudato Si', his 2015 encyclical. It's called A Prayer for Our Earth. Just invite you to ground yourself in God. All-powerful God, you are present in the whole universe and in the smallest of your creatures. You embrace with your tenderness all that exists. Pour out upon us the power of your love, that we may protect life and beauty. Fill us with peace, that we may live as brothers and sisters, arm in arm. O God of the poor, help us to rescue the abandoned and forgotten of this earth, so precious in your eyes. Bring healing to our lives, that we may protect the world and not prey on it, that we may sow beauty, not pollution and destruction. Touch the hearts of those who look only for gain at the expense of the poor and the earth. Teach us to discover the worth of each thing to be filled with awe and contemplation, to recognize that we are profoundly united with every creature as we journey towards your infinite light. We thank you for being with us each day. Encourage us, we pray, in our struggle for justice, love, and peace. So I'll be introducing our two speakers with their bios here, and I'll say too, if there is plenty of food back there, if anyone wants to grab seconds while I'm reading the bios, might be a good time. So first up is Dr. John Snigocki. John Snigocki is a professor in the theology department and co-director of the Institute for Spirituality and Social Justice at Xavier University. He received his PhD in Christian ethics from the University of Notre Dame and has taught at Xavier since 2001. He's the author of Catholic Social Teaching and Economic Globalization, The Quest for Alternatives, as well as numerous journal articles and book chapters. John currently serves as director of the undergraduate Peace and Justice Studies minor. At the undergraduate level, his teaching focuses on the challenge of peace, and at the graduate level, he's taught classes in ethics in a time of planetary crisis around the theological imagination. So after John shares and sort of lays a theological foundation for us, Jim Brown will come up and share some both theology and practical applications. So Jim and his wife Mary Lisa Bertuca have been members of the Bellamy Chapel for about 25 years. They were married at the chapel some 52 years ago. Jim began his career as a high school religion teacher in Jerusalem and directed 2 nonprofit enterprises before entering the field of organizational development in 1985. Jim has been an adjunct faculty at both Boston College and Xavier University. He retired at the end of 2020 and joined the Bellamy Chapel Healthy Earth team in September of 2021. In addition to developing compost for Mary Lisa's vegetables, herbs, and flowers, he's a woodworker and beekeeper. They also have long-time season tickets to the Xavier's Men's Festival. They have 2 grown children, 4 grandsons in the Chicago area, and he'll be sharing with us on the theology and practical applications of UAP before. John, I'd like you to come up. Thank you.
Being a good teacher, I have a handout for you. If you've always wanted some quotes from the popes on ecological issues, this is your opportunity.
So thank you, glad to be with you. I was asked to just speak briefly on some of the biblical foundations and foundations in church social teaching on issues. And for the biblical foundations, we don't have to go far into the Bible. The creation stories, we get pretty much everything we need, which is an understanding of the goodness of creation. So I was writing in the history of religions and that context that the biblical tradition wasn't here you can understand of the goodness of creation. It was created by God out of love. God is creator, everything belongs to God. And that God gives humans the task of being caretakers or stewards of that creation. Right? And that's my talk. Let's stop here. That's all we need now. The goodness of creation. Everything belongs to God. We're called to take care of creation that God loves. I think it's more complicated. Right? Because one thing you do have also within that Genesis story that's often been used in a way that's not the creation is the notion of people sometimes interpret it down as sort of do whatever you want. And that's clearly not what it means to have in real history of how sometimes it's been interpreted. So one of the things the last 3 published is really wanting to challenge those kind of misunderstandings. And so themes of care for creation really become a part of Catholic social teaching. Late 1960s, early 1970s, we have a few mentions of document in 1990 entitled Ecological Crisis and Responsibility, which is the first people document. It was a World Day of Peace message. Every January 1st, those message, or something like that. So that's what this was. And John Paul really stresses several things. He uses the word crisis, so we see this already, this point, this crisis. Understood at that time, see that, talks about deforestation, pollution, and different conversations. So, crisis, it says these are the most pressing ethical challenges of our time. And he also stresses that concern about these issues is not something that's kind of popular. It should be understood as a central part of today, the ecological crisis has assumed such proportions as to be the responsibility of everyone. Christians in particular realize that their responsibility in creation, their duty towards nature and the Creator are an essential part of their faith. It highlights the need for lifestyle change, but also change in policy. And so these are some quotes about lifestyle, like for living a person. So he says, simplicity, moderation, and discipline must become a part of everyday life. Thus all should suffer the negative consequences of the careless habits of a few. In education, ecological responsibility is urgent. Responsibility for oneself and for others before the earth. Modern society will find no solution to the ecological problem unless it takes a serious look at its lifestyle. But he also looks at the policy things, especially as it was mentioned, the intersection of a lot of these UAPs. So throughout papal teaching of ecology, there's also an emphasis on the need to see that in connection to concern about issues of how soft and poor are most harmed by ecological destruction in these various forms, and how sometimes there's also people's experience of poverty that leads them to sometimes do things that they have to creation, such as if people are pushed off their right to never go. So always pointing out these intersections of concern for social justice, concern for ecology, we'll see throughout Let's also be said, property ecological balance will not be found without correctly addressing structural forms of poverty that exist. And then Pope Benedict XVI picks up on these themes from John Paul II. You may have heard the times Pope Benedict referred to as the Queen Pope because he spoke of ecological issues so much. He also tried to get the Vatican to become the first carbon neutral state in the world. Solar panels at the Vatican, some of us building a forest, planting a forest to help offset their other emissions. Various reasons that however they didn't quite work out, but the intention was there. And like John Paul, he really stresses the urgency of these issues and the responsibility of families to respond. So this is one of these quotes, and all these quotes you can find. Before it is too late, it is necessary to make courageous decisions that reflect knowing how to create a strong alliance between man and the earth. A decisive yes to the protection of creation is necessary, and a firm commitment to reverse those tendencies that run the risk of bringing about situations of unstoppable. So again, this strong language, warning. Highlights a variety of different issues. This is area remain for core problems associated with such realities as climate change, certification, deterioration, loss of productivity of vast agricultural areas, pollution of rivers and aquifers, first book, Right in Turns, is the intersection of ecological and social justice. It's like the book being even more authoritative. He's also issued a follow-up to that, which is came out last year. Chapter 2 says this is not something optional. It sort of calls out Catholics who don't take it seriously. Says it must be said that some committed and prayerful Christians, with the excuse of realism and pragmatism, tend to ridicule expressions of respect for the environment. Others are passive and choose not to change their habits. So what they all need is an ecological conversion, whereby the effects of their encounter with Jesus Christ become evident in their relationship with the world around them. Living our vocation to be protectors of God's handiwork is essential to the life of virtue. It is not an optional or a secondary aspect of our Christian experience. And as part of this call to ecological conversion, he says we need to repent of our sins against creation, which should also bring back sins against the poor and sins against future generations. And he emphasizes the need to keep as he goes to the cry of the earth, the cry of the earth. He also spends a lot of time talking about the need to really reshape how we perceive. I think that's really the most fundamental. He wants people to relate to love, to not view the world as resources to be exploited, but as a gift to give to us by God. Care for, and that is connected to spiritual practice, mindfulness, awareness, or practices of prayer, vision practices. See ourselves in nature. It says this conversion calls for a number of attitudes which together foster a spirit of generous care. First, it entails gratitude. It produces this recognition that the world is God's loving gift. It also entails a loving awareness that we are not disconnected from the rest of creature, enjoying this splendid universal communion. So if you grab it all from the museum saying over and over again, you need to see how everything is separate from the nature we are from. And it also says, together with our obligation to use the earth, is responsible for the call to recognize that other living beings have a value of their own in God's eyes. By their mere existence, they lessen the glory of every creature as thus the object of God's goodness. And so this is emphasis on remarkable creatures, and other creatures aren't here. And what these humans really have their own value. There's a lot that can be explored. Seriously. And then lastly, Francis also wants to say that living the more ecologically sustainable life can be seen as some hard sacrifice, but it's actually living more simply can be a very joyful way to live. So he says Christian spirituality proposes an alternative understanding of life. It encourages a prophetic living lifestyle, capable of obsession and consumption. Is not less than right, not lived with less intensity. On the contrary, as a way of living freedom. And I think this last post sums it all up for Francis, who sees God's love as being so present in all human creatures. He says, the world seems infinite
about our healthy earth team over at Development, I'd like to pose a question to you. I'd like for you to think about a time when you were out in nature. You probably didn't get to see the last supermoon of the year, otherwise called the Beaver Moon, because it's been cloudy here. But if you've been out in the woods, around a campfire, you did see a sunset or a beautiful full moon. There's this was February 2 years ago, a snow moon. A bunch of us were out on a hike, the night hike, full moon hike, out in Sharon Woods. Sitting next to a stream, just thinking about with a friend, a spouse, a child, a grandchild. A time when that experience affected you. Maybe it touched your heart, felt a sense of peace. Maybe it brought a tear to your eye, or just something happened there. So think about, see if you can pull up a memory of that kind of experience. Wasn't going to do this, but I think I have time. A minute, just to turn to somebody next to you and exchange what that experience was, what that nature thing was. I grew up there, Rice Hill, Western Hills area, and up until the time I was 10, we had a woods in our backyard, and hills and vines to swing on. We had a beautiful creek through the middle of those woods. Unfortunately, when I was 11, developers came in and tore it all out and put in a housing development. I've always had this fascination with water and streams. And we have 4 grandsons who live in the Chicago area. And it has been one of the joys of our lives that to introduce the 4 grandsons to the playscape, the creek and the playscape at the Cincinnati Nature Center. Oldest when he was 2, the next one when he was 3, our son's first child when he was 2, and then COVID hit, and we didn't get to introduce Finn to the playscape till he was about 5, almost 5. And each time those boys ran in that creek, I teared up, remembering my days playing in the creek. What's that all about? Why did I tear up? Well, part of it is because I'm a sentimental old fart. But the other part, though, I think has to do with some of what John was talking about. How many of you were at Father Michael Graham's talk on the first apostolic preference, the spiritual exercises? You may have been I wasn't, but you may have been exposed to Ignatius's First Principle and Foundation. Now, if you read the Jesuit prayer app that comes out every day, and often the reflection will often reference that First Principle and Foundation. And I just like to, I pulled out one line, at least from Father David Fleming's translation. And he says, all things in this world are created because of God's love. They become a context of gifts so we could know God and return his love. There's a line from Laudato Si, and John didn't have it, I think maybe because I had told John I was going to do this. It's number 233. And Pope Francis says there's a mystery of God to be found in a leaf, in a stream, in a forest, in a poor person's eyes. And I think what that says to me is that there's something in nature that affects us. And I think it's right to the whole point of what John was saying there from our biblical traditions of the impact of nature on us and why we get so touched by it, at least many of us. So I retired from my organizational consulting work at the end of 2020, and I was looking for something to do more actively at our church at Bellarmine. An area and I were biking on the new Wasson Way in August of 2021. And serendipitously, we run into Laurie Roach, who was hiking down near our Hall Park. And we stopped and we chatted. And I said, I know, Laurie, you're involved with the Healthy Earth team. I'm curious about it. What would it take to get on the committee? And Laurie said, just come to our next meeting. It'll be on Zoom, and that was the end of September in 2021, and I've been with it ever since. We said this when I'm out of the chair, following Laurie, who was the chair when I first got on. Who are we, the Healthy Earth team? Well, we're a small community of parishioners who've been nourished by the gifts of the natural world. We have a practice, or what I discovered when I first got on it, that the meetings, there's a prayer, and then there is a reflection shared by one of the members. And basically, it's how I experience God in nature. And that's how we start our meetings. And it's a very rich experience. And what I discovered, what was over a number of months, was how many of the members of our Healthy Earth team talked about having a creek in their backyard or near where they lived. And it just said something to me about this group of people. So we are nourished by water creatures, small and large. I've been a beekeeper, so I'm not afraid of bees, and they've been the girls, I call them the girls. They're called girls, they're the drones or the guys, but there are a few of them. And of course, we've had gardens forever and ever. And how many have been on a retreat at the Jesuit Spiritual Center? So you know what it's like to retreat out there. I first went out there as a high school senior in 1963 from Elder High School, and for our retreat. And I've been going over there ever since. So that's 60-some years that I've been going out to retreats. And there's a special place out there that overlooks the Little Miami, where I meet, with the help of the Jesuit who guided us as high school seniors. I'll just tell you one thing. So this is 1963. Now anybody who may remember what it was like to be a guy in 1963, this Jesuit said, God loves you. What? You don't know, I'm a walking mortal sin. Remember? And this guy had a real impact on my life, and I made probably the most important decision of my life. Well, the second. The first biggest was when I met her. But it was in this nature, and there was a spot that overlooks Little Miami. And whenever I'm out there, and I go out there a lot, I like to sit there on the bench and just remember what this place means to me and the decision that I made long ago. So what inspires us as a Healthy Earth team? Well, as John so eloquently said, it's our Catholic teaching. And the last three popes, including Pope Paul, which you have alluded to, has spoken very forcefully and eloquently, none more though than Francis, about our Catholic roots and our Catholic teachings of what inspires us. We have organized our meetings and how we think about our agenda, et cetera, around 4 areas: pray, learn, act, and advocate. An important word here, to bear hope and healing amidst the ecological crisis we face. Now, I know some of you were part of the visioning process that Father Paul and Jay Myers and Tim and others led this past winter. I was happy to be part of that. And the vision statement that we came up with, being transformed in the body of Christ, to bear hope and healing in the Ignatian tradition. Well, that's going to be a challenge, folks. But we are committed to that, and I think it's important for us in terms of our identity that we are community people who are passionate about nature and passionate about trying to do our mission, which is, and the Healthy Earth team, by the way, was formed in 2016 as a direct response to Laudato Si, which was issued in 2015. And one of the founding members of that Laudato, the Healthy Earth team, was actually Tim's dad, Ed. And it was formed, and our mission is essentially to inspire our parish through educational initiatives to connect the tenets of our Catholic faith and the need for action in protecting our common home from ecological exploitation and injustice. So that's what we're about, and I think given our new vision statement, people will be having many more conversations about we can be, as Father Ed said over at Bellevue this morning, he was talking about the stars, the beacons of light, how we can be both beacons of light, of hope, of healing as a parish committee, Healthier Earth. I did some research some years ago connected to a role I had. I was on the board at Jesuit Spiritual Center. Back in 1998, the Superior General, Father Koldenbach, gave a lecture called "Our Responsibility for God's Creation." And he was quoting, actually, Pope John Paul's message that John alluded to. And then in 2008, the Jesuit General Congregation, a big meeting of Jesuits from all over the world, called for a greater reconciliation with God, with one another, and with all creation. Interestingly, dedication for God, Pope Francis is a Jesuit. And so Laudato Si, at its heart, is about reconciliation with God, reconciliation with one another, and reconciliation of creation. So not only our Catholic tradition, but also our Jesuit Ignatian tradition is at the root of what we try to do as a Healthy Earth team. As I said, we divide our work up, or we kind of lump our different things that we talk about and try to do in these 4 themes. The first theme is pray. We have had a tradition at Bellarmine on International Earth Day, which is April 22nd, to have an Earth Day Mass. And for a number of years, somebody either I'm a member of, I remember Laurie gave one of the reflections, I gave reflections this past April, where at the beginning of Mass, someone will give a reflection on how their our work as a Healthy Earth team affects our faith life. And it's kind of a witness that has been done. We have a whole list of Earth-centered, sustainability-centered petitions, and throughout the year we tried working with one of the worship committee subcommittees, getting petitions that reflect our love of the earth and the call of Pope Francis. Another thing, and part of what we've done over the years is also creation-centered prayer services. How many of you know John Biting has been Sherry, and now John. So I've also been a member of the planning committee that's planned the Embracing God's Creation series, which is now in its 3rd year. And it really came out of a conversation that we were having as a Healthy Earth team. And you may recall that when the 3 years ago, all the directors of the Jesuit works decided to focus each year on one of the apostolic preferences. And the first one they picked was care for our common home. And that's when we started this Embracing God's Creation series of presentations, immersion experiences, and prayer services. The first slide we had up there of the moon, that was actually an immersion experience. We had on a cold February night. There were families there. There were some of us older people there, and a whole bunch. It was really a great night to walk around the park out there, and with this full moon gracing our hike. So that's been. So that's some of the examples of the things that we do, and I just come back to that beginning each meeting with a reflection, answering that question: how have you experienced God lately in nature, or some experience with creation? The second theme that we focus our conversations around have to do with learn. Part of our mission is really educational. It's very much educational. You can check our website, and we have whole pages of resources around sustainability, the whole advocacy initiative, etc. And then there's a social action newsletter that Tim puts out, and we have we always do a feature in that from the Healthy Earth team in terms of monthly green actions. I forget now when we started a couple of years ago, meatless meetups. Tim's mom actually has this where we get together a year at a minority-owned restaurant, and we also try to push the idea of a vegetarian meal when we do this. So that's another thing that we've done. I don't know how many of you, I know some of you have for sure, again, pointing over there on Evans Avenue, is a real treasure in our community, the Recycling and Reuse Hub. It is one of 3 in the country that recycles the things that they recycle, things that many don't. And they're even now, as of a few months ago, recycling #1 plastic containers. One of the evils. in our society. Number one, plastic containers. They're just what they do, but they've been able to recycle those. And then where we can, we try to connect with the youth in our parish and students at Xavier. Every year, Jim has a couple interns from Xavier who then are part of our efforts as a Healthy Earth team. They come to our meetings, they participate in our activities, and they're just incredible young people. And we have two this year, again, are just incredibly involved and wonderful young women. The last theme that, or no, I'm sorry, the third theme is around ACT and some of the things that we've done over the years. So we have three, I think, active discipleship days where we, many of us on the Healthy Earth team will connect with students, the what? Community action, the students, and we all go out, and it's really a neat experience because typically you go out to Evanston or you go to the Nexus Garden or some event, and you're with college students, a family with kids, and then some of us old farts, and it's just a really great experience, and we come back and then reflect on the experience. And so that's one of the things Bananas are involved in. Jim heads up what's called a Nexus Garden, and number of the members, Laurie, it's a community garden, and we harvest food, and just a couple numbers over the last 2 years. I won't give you the numbers yet for this year, but the last 2 years, anywhere from 700 to 800 pounds of food from that garden right there on Xavier's campus that go out to 3 food pantries for people to get access to healthy vegetables and produce. One of the members of our Healthy Earth team participates on the Archdiocese and Care for Creation Task Force. So there are just some samples of what we do in terms of acting. The last thing has to do with advocacy, and this is a little bit of a tougher one. We're always trying to look for ways to educate our parishioners, both as individuals, as family members, how to advocate for what Pope Francis calls us to, the connection between, what's celebrated today, commemorating the poor in our world, advocating for social justice around sustainability issues. I was listening to a talk recently, in that most of us aren't directly affected by what's happening in the climate. People of color, people poor, people living out along River Road, those are the people who are affected by the climate situation, the climate crisis we're in. So where we can, we try to educate people. One, we think we found a bipartisan issue, and if you didn't know this, you're going to education, that in our Ohio state parks, gas companies have the right to go in and frack in our national parks. We learned that, because now there's data, if you're a family living a mile from a fracking plant, the incidence of childhood leukemia is higher than the national trend. So some of us have been involved in where's that picture? So some of us are out there at East Fork Lake to distribute literature and be out in one of our state parks. I don't think there's gas underneath that. one in Washington. In fact, there's one of our interns, Maggie, and this is Annie. Annie gave a reflection this morning on her trip to Washington. It was just, that's down Dan Roach. It was one of the best talks on faith and social justice I've ever heard. And I've heard quite a lot. And it was outstanding. And anyway, and then we have, at Bellarmine, we have a Ignatian FFC team. So that's just another area where we try to connect. We've been trying this year, bit of a struggle to become partners with the Green Cincinnati plan. So anyway, so there's just a lot of things that we do. I think at base, one of the things that we're about really is, when it comes down to it, is witnessing to and then trying to invite people with our educational or formational efforts for people to have ecological spirituality. But Francis reminds us in Laudato Si number 97 that Jesus often stopped to contemplate the beauty sown by his Father and invited his disciples to perceive a divine message in things. There's Francis trying to tell us why this is so important in terms of faith. Then later he tells us that the universe unfolds in God who fills it completely. This is the quote I was trying to, off the top of my head, remember. Hence there is a mystical meaning to be found in a leaf, in a mountain trail, in a dewdrop, or a person's face, or eyes. So what John was talking about, much of how we go about our work as a parish committee is done in the spirit of discernment, reflection, prayer. My last comment is, I happened to come across, as a college freshman, fall of 1964, when I was from the West Side, the writings of some guy by the name of Tyhard A. Charter. I had no idea. And later somebody corrected me and told me how to pronounce it. And I think picking up on Ignatius, he taught us that we want to love God, love God's creation, all of it, nature, our neighbor, ourselves. It's all connected. John mentioned that. We use that word. It's all connected. It's all part of God's beautiful creation.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, John. I think you helped us draw that connection between our faith and gift of the creation, the gift that God gave us. And you helped us feel that in our hearts as well as God. So thank you. We have about 15 minutes for questions and answers. So I wanted to invite you to share your thoughts, what spoke to you from what we just heard, and the question for either of our speakers if you have.
First of all, thank you both for your lives. We appreciate your time, the passion that you have for is there any effort been made to understand what faith communities go green, welcome vector? Is that anything that is aligned or parallel?
Oh, yeah. This was a plant. I've known Marie almost as long as I know Greg. They were roommates when we met. Yeah, that should have been on our list, but yes, we're very connected to that. Laurie can speak eloquently about connections that they. So yes, we're very much connected.
May I ask a follow-up question? Okay. Is there any interest in reaching out and collaborating more with the city's neighborhood summit? There's a message here, even though it's government, and we're going to fix it. Connecting to their efforts, especially with our events. Neighborhood summit invites groups to come in and share their results and share their philosophies. And so I just think that's an annual event.
I'm not familiar with the neighborhood summit, but we have been very active in Springfield University, and doing different things and still are doing that. But, so that would be something for us to learn more about. We have recently been reaching out to the wanted to be a part of their recent life plan to partner. We've had some struggles with that, just trying to reach, I think the person we reached out to was with us for a while, so even to the extent of better knowing what we're doing. So that's for them to take part in some partnership opportunities that we can leverage our activities.
But that's a good way, but thank you. Yeah. Certainly into partnerships as a very.
Yeah, I would just say one other thing, highlight that is that we have tried to focus geographically, for a lot of our reasons now, moving areas around the country.
Thanks, Tim. And Tim, I would like to commend you for just, this is a question, just your admiration of what you do here in terms of social justice as well as industrial skills, just outstanding. I think we deserve a round of applause. And his mother and father. You know, an issue that I feel strongly about is the Xavier University and their environmental issues. You know, we have a marvelous example here of the Cincinnati Zoo that is off the grid completely. You know, so that they have solar panels in their parking lot, and they are totally off the grid. And if they can do it, why can't Xavier University do it? They have huge parking lots. They have you know, a whole variety of buildings. Loyola University is a national example of sustainability in terms of the environment. They have a whole program on this graduate degree. And it seems to me we need to be an advocate, you know, for Xavier University to come to terms with this issue of the environment in terms of the facility there. And I don't mean to make a statement, but I guess what I am suggesting is, Jim, with your strategy and different organizational structures, you know, how we concretely approach this issue and take action. You know, one of your 4 points here.
So
will say there's been no lack of trying on the part of many of us within the university. But I think it would be good actually for the university to hear from the broader community. This is something we would love to see leadership. So there have been some things done, so like the main classroom building, so it was renovated a number of years back. What's done in a way that it now uses 50% less energy per square foot than the building on campus, which is good. The original promise was that we would get that zero building. So these administration buildings that you have over the university schools, because of financial issues that happen halfway there. But then things have sort of stalled in recent years as the use with structural deficits and such. And then the crazy thing, of course, is that a lot of these things would save lots of money in the long run. Right? That is a little bit more about us. Instead of just getting that as a so the president of Xavier did sign on to adopt a senior action plan, which is organized by that head that asks all Catholic institutions to commit to being more sustainable and to submitting an annual report to that question of what you're doing. So I think that provides some hope for accountability of saying, hey, we've committed to this, we need to be able to show that we're doing something. So I think those of us within the university will certainly keep for that. Voice, other voices, whatever, so I'm grateful to connect with leadership of the university. It's something we would hope that Xavier would take a leadership role in hearing now from community, whether you happen to be there or not. It's certainly important to help me to that.
Jim, do you have any comment?
Yes. We've talked about it, and I think we have, are aware of what John just said. And there's some systemic issues that have to be resolved before, I mean, we can, as a committee, as a parish committee, we can be accountable for conversation. But given that if we're going to do anything, it's got to get done from parish family.
Development has thought of doing this kind of a pilot solar project on campus, even if it's not a university, but having approval from the university, and there was, they told us to wait until they did the long-term plan of building the new high school, and request that they were wherever we think was going to go, and so we knew what the space was going to be used everywhere on campus, and really think where we were going to but we have to start with that, which would be an obvious type of place. But hopefully some of those things also place that would be more conversation, right?
I wonder if you could get on the agenda of the board of directors and raise their awareness of this issue. This is sort of
Thanks, Ken. We'll follow up in our team meeting. It's a good thought. Is there one more question? We have time for one more.
So very helpful, appreciate the information. I'm coming from a place where it's curious, before you mentioned sort of the interrelation of some of the different initiatives. Jim, the Jesuits kind of role in education, we now on the primary side, academy, and high school, and university. To what level is that some of that effort of focus
garden, and Larry's and I were over there to see their garden, their learning garden, because we were hoping that we could volunteer or something. We'd like to think that the Embracing God's Creation program that we've had for 3 years in our third year have been supported both spiritually and with members on the planning team. John from St. X, John just joined us. So we have those conversations, and to the extent that we promote one another, particularly with the high school, with Katie and Stephen, we've been able to bring them into some of it, and we're always in that conversation, how to promote it. And then see where it goes. And okay, they're just really getting off. Yeah. More questions?
Just a comment, most educated people are in favor of what we're talking about. It's all about the money. Going from that saying to that, the investment in conversion is very, very high. So, converting is very well. Endowment, foster, institutional change. That's how much.
Well, but to your point, yeah, to the extent that, yeah, to the
So thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you both for speaking. You used the quote from Pope Francis that had the phrase ecological conversion in it. And it really is, conversion is the right word for it. It's a turning of the heart towards God, towards creation, towards our neighbor, that this team's trying to work on, and that I think Pope Francis is really calling us to. So I wanted to end with an invitation here. Jim and Lori and others have been catalysts for change at the Bellarmine community, but we're now a Jesuit parish family. We are two church communities in our parish family, and Father Paul has blessed the idea that this Healthy Earth work would be the first sort of joint ministry, parish family-wide effort in the social mission sustainability space. So I want to invite members of St. Xavier to join this team so we have a real parish family Healthy Earth team. I had you sign in there in the back. If you are interested in that, I'd love if you put a little check next to your name or indicate it in some way so I can follow up with you. Our next
or
meeting.
just to sit in one Zoom meeting.
Right, just the way Jim, then you'll be the chair. But really it is, if you wanted to join us just for one meeting and have a conversation, we'd appreciate that too. The next meeting is on Zoom. It's Monday, the 25th of this month at 6 p.m. We don't meet in December, but we'll be picking up in the new year. So that invitation will be in the St. X bulletin as well, for everyone to get the invitation here. But we really do hope to make this a parish family effort. Other things that I'll just name, this recording is going to be on the St. X YouTube channel along with the previous 3 talks if you haven't seen them. So the whole series will be there. Feel free to share that. And we are going to be sending out an email or in the bulletin a survey sort of asking people to evaluate this and then help us decide what the Sunday speaker series for next year will look like. It won't be on, or probably wouldn't be on the UAPs, but we need to find what things people are interested in and draw them towards. So that, I thank you all for being with us and got some cookies on the way out.